Because if they stand, they begin to get dizzy. They begin to get lightheaded. If they stand too long, they're subject to black out. They're subject to fall over. So the woman very easily could have said, I would get out eating. I would go see Jesus, but, I can't stand very long. When a person begins to consistently lose blood like that, there are a number of other physical problems that begin to take place in the body. I mean, you begin to suffer pain, particularly in your lower extremities, in your feet, and in your knees, and in your hips. And a lot of times it becomes difficult even to see when you begin to get like that, because, again, you're starting to get dizzy. You become unbalanced. Your equilibrium is off. So there are a lot of things that are taking the individual because of blood loss. And the woman very easily could have said, well, I would go to the meeting, but I can't see very well, and I would get out there, but I can't get in with crowds, and I get claustrophobic. All kind of things she could have said, and you know what? Nobody would have blamed her. If that was your mama, you'd have made her stay in. If that was your mama said, I'm going to the meeting, no, mama, you can't go. We'll tell Jesus come by the house. I'm going to GG, no, mama, please. If you wouldn't let him go. And if they told you I can't make it, I'm not feeling good, you wouldn't have had a problem. If they said I would go tonight, but I can't, you wouldn't have had a problem, because you felt like that their situation has wanted them to remain where they are. But you know what makes a difference, brothers and sisters? I said it before and I say it again. Sometimes you got to get desperate. And sometimes you got to get tired of your situation. See, when you get tired of your situation, you don't want to stay in the same situation. It's like I say on one occasion, said you can be sick for so long until you get sick of being sick, and it makes you sick all over again. See, some of y'all ain't been that sick, but when you get that sick, you don't want to stay in that situation. Sometimes you got to get to the point where you get tired of where you are. Man, I don't like being here. I'm sick all the time. I don't like being dizzy all the time. I don't like being in pain all the time. And not only that, but the Bible said she has spent all of her money. And that's why a lot of times for church, because they ain't got no money. You ain't saying nothing. Well, y'all know that's right, because a lot of times we come to church and we still ain't got no money. You ain't saying nothing. But she might have been afraid. She might have been ashamed because she couldn't get in the $100 line. She might have been ashamed. She might have been afraid because she's supposed to be an affluent woman, but she couldn't even get in the prayer line, in the line where they're saying, I'm going to pray for you, but you got to bring your $100 first, and then I'll pray for you after you come to the $100 line. No, she couldn't get none of that. But even though she was broke, if I got to go to the meeting, sick, if I got to go to the meeting in a bad situation, if I fall out, if I pass out, I'm tired of being where I am. And you got to get tired, man. You got to get tired of this. Some of you, the devil walks up the front of you and down the back of you, and he gives you an excuse. You got to get tired of that situation. Hallelujah. And the woman got tired. And I can imagine this woman, you don't know the story, but I can imagine the mentality of this woman. I can imagine the way the woman imagined what was going through her mind. If I fall out, I'm still going to try to get to Jesus. And if they kick me, I'm still going to try to get to Jesus. And you know what? Things were happening to her before she got there. You know why? Because the Bible said she touched the hem of his garment. In other words, if she had been standing up, she could have grabbed him on the shoulder. If she had been standing up, she could have grabbed his hand. But evidently she was on the ground. Evidently she had blacked out. Evidently she got dizzy. Evidently her knees gave out. And while she was on the ground, reaching up ground, people walking over her, people stepping over her, some probably kicking her accidentally, some probably walking under her. But she made up in her mind, if I die, I'm going to die trying to get healed. If I die, I'm going to die trying to get blessed, because I'm tired of my situation. You didn't hear her harping on how sick she was. You didn't hear her talking about how bad she had it. You didn't tell her talking about her situation, because all that meant nothing. I've got to get to another level. I've got to get to another place. Desperation will bring us to another level, but excuses will leave us in the same place. Oh, y'all pray for me. I'll be through in a few more seconds. It reminds me, and you all know the story of when the Bible said that there was a certain man that was born of four. And you know, the Bible didn't really say who these four were, but let me use my imagination, if I may. Let me kind of travel in my mind. I can imagine that maybe these were the boy's sons, four sons, and they heard that Jesus was a. Now you know, these boys would have had a good excuse if they had come to the house, because the Bible said when they came to the house they couldn't get in. They couldn't get in because, of course, the Bible said that many people were around the house. Many people were there, and you know what's interesting about that? It's just like when people come to church. Everybody does not come to church for the same reason. And everybody wasn't there for the same reason. Sometimes there were the hypocrites were there and the curiosity seekers were there. Everybody was not there to get a miracle. Everybody was not there to get healed. They're not there because they wanted the word. But some folk were there because this is this place to be. Everybody else is here, so I got to be here. And then some folk, they were there, praise the Lord, because they were curiosity seekers and they heard about Jesus, but they wanted to see for themselves. And a lot of times it's these people that get in the way of folk that have a genuine need. Now you know what? Those boys could have said, sorry, Dad, we tried to get in, but we couldn't get in. And nobody would have blamed them. They'd gone, and Mama said, what happened? What happened, Mama? We couldn't get in because all them folk were there. You know, Johnny down the street drunk, and he was there. You know, the alcoholics and drug dealers, they were out there. And you know, Mama, we couldn't get in. You know why? Because Tom Gossip Lady, she was standing in the way, and we couldn't get in. And you know what? The mother wouldn't have got mad at the boys. She might have got mad at them folk, and that's the trouble. Why we can't get nothing done? Because all them hypocrites and all them liars and all them homemongers and all them crazy folk. And that's the same thing people say today. I would go to church, preach, I would, but there's too many hypocrites in church, and there's too many lying folk in church. And folk in the club on Saturday and in the church on Sunday singing in the choir. And a lot of times people look at the people and they get upset and they get mad and they get angry. But the reality is all you do is use that as an excuse to justify your failure. These boys could have had a good excuse. Remember, I'm talking about good excuses now. And they had a good excuse. And they very easily could have taken this good excuse and gone back home. But you know what? Dad would have still been sick. And he still would have been laying in the bed. And brothers, we've got to understand there comes a time when you've got to have a change. You've got to have a change in your circumstance. You've got to have a change in your situation. Man, Dad is sick, but I don't want to leave like I came. I don't want to leave Dad still sick and like we brought him here. Some kind of way, we've got to get to where Jesus is. And you know what? When you really get desperate, and I know I keep dwelling upon that word desperation, but desperation is what's going to the next level. What happened within these boys was now there was a motive and a desire for a thing to change, and because they had a desire for change, they realized that we'll never get it done if we travel the normal circumstance. It's sometimes desperation that brings out ingenuity. It's sometimes desperation that will cause you to think outside of the box. It's sometimes desperation of a situation you've made up in your mind that you've got to have a change that will cause you to think different than the way you thought before. And when they begin to look at the situation, I can imagine they begin to evaluate the situation and say, man, we got to get to Jesus. It don't matter how many hypocrites are at the front door. We've got to get to Jesus. It doesn't matter how many curiosity seekers are standing in the way. We've got to get to Jesus. And the Bible said, man, they got up on the roof. Oh man, somebody could fall off the roof. That don't matter. We're going up on the roof and we're going to break the roof up. Somebody gonna have to pay for this roof, but that's secondary. That's something else. We've got to get to Jesus. And I can imagine they took something. How are we gonna get Dad up and through the roof and down? Well, allow me to use my imagination. They might have took their garments and wrapped it around the bed and said, all right, we're gonna make a little pulley. We're gonna pull him up and then we're gonna lower him down. And they interrupted the service. They interrupted Jesus. They interrupted the big shots and the big wigs and the dignitaries that sat around trying to evaluate. And the Bible said Jesus saw their faith. Well, they didn't say nothing, but he saw their faith. They didn't talk about faith, but they had action. Jesus saw the action.